sent to the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Oblet podcast with me, Father Abraham Chimese. In this podcast, we get to meet different Oblets who share their lives, their missionary journeys, their vocation, and all their interesting story. And in today's episode, we are meeting Father Rolheiser, very famous name. Father Ron, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And so, just to keep the conversation,
Okay.
when people say, Ron, I know many people have read your books, and there's your biography there. Who is Ron, for the sake of our podcast followers?
Well, a little bit of a history. You know, I'm a Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the prairies in Canada, farm kid, big family, Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
I joined the Oblates at 17, right after high school,
Oh,
and did 7 years in seminary. I was ordained. I was only 24, and then the Oblates sent me for another degree. I went and did a master's in San Francisco, and then I taught for 6 years in a seminary. And then they sent me to Belgium for 3.5 years to do a doctorate. Came back and did another 6 years of teaching. And then I was elected as provincial.
That's for the one.
Oblates in Western Canada. And I did that for 6 years. And then I was elected to our General Council in Rome for 6 years. And then from there, I had a sabbatical and I came here. I've been here now basically for 20 years at Oblate School of Theology.
Wow. No, thank you for your contribution. And just to take you back a little bit with your family. So your family is still in Canada. How many are still there?
Well, they're still there, but you know, I'm one of the youngest ones in the family, so we're an old family. So half of my family has gone off to the Father.
Yeah.
and the other half are, you know, mostly retired, but living in Western Canada.
Yeah. I had one of young Oblates. They sat at a table with senior Oblates, and they were talking about the time they joined the Oblates. The young Oblate said, I joined very late at 24, so I was going to get ordained around 35, 34, somewhere there. And the senior Oblate joined very young, like 17, and that's Paul de Kock. And so Paul de Kock said, where have you been, young man? Okay. You're going to get ordained very late. And the young Oblate said, what were you rushing for?
Okay. Well,
just to pick a joke on that.
Well, I'll make a joke. You know, when I went to the seminary, my years as class teacher, most of the professors were 35, 36, 37.
Yeah.
So those were the people teaching us. And our average age was probably 20.
Yeah.
You know, the old guys were 25. The young guys were 18, you know.
Thank you. And being an Oblate, you've written so extensively in terms of spirituality. What has kept you going? Apart from writing, we know you teach. You've been a president. You've been in administration, as you've said. What has kept you going as an Oblate?
Well, the Oblates themselves. You know, I'll tell you. You know, I joined the Oblates. I'll tell you, I was naive. It was a blind date, but it was a good choice. They were the only thing I knew.
Yeah.
You know, when I grew up, they were.
That was an Oblate parish.
Yeah,
You came
it
from
was an
an
Oblate parish. I didn't know they were. I knew they were Jesuits and they were diocesan. So I wanted to become a priest. I just went and told our parish priest I want to become an Oblate.
Yeah.
So he said, well, I have to let you know there's other choices. He said, you could become a Jesuit, but that takes 14 years. And I was 17. I thought, no, not going that direction.
Yeah.
And then he said, or you could become a diocesan priest. That takes 1 year less. And that tempted me. But I thought, no. And I'd already had an older brother who had gone before me. So it was just a natural. I didn't know the Oblate charism. You know, I know it now and I'm proud of it. You know, but at the time I wanted to become a priest.
Yeah.
And so the Oblates were what I knew. It was a divinely providential choice. You know, now, you know, in hindsight, with knowing what I know, I would pick the Oblates. Okay.
Yeah. No, you've been a good Oblate, a good asset to our congregation. We're proud of you, and we thank God for that. And talking about the work that you're doing at the moment, continued writing. What are you writing? Are you still writing? I know you write articles every day, every week.
I'm always writing. Well, I'll tell you what, I have two kinds of writing. You know, in 1982, which is now 42 years ago,
Uh-huh.
I started a newspaper column once a week. And so 42 years I've written a newspaper column
Every
and still write one. But then I've written about 13 books over the years.
13 books.
And I just finished a major book, actually 2 books. I finished a small book on chastity through Paraclete Press. But I have a major book that's at Random House in New York
Okay.
on aging and dying.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's a major book. And I just got word from today they're going to publish it, but it's going to probably take a year before it actually comes out.
Comes out. Okay.
And so my next project, big project, I want
How long does it take you before you get to your next long project? How long does it take you to write a book?
Well, you know, the actual writing
Mhm.
usually only takes a month, 6
month.
weeks to.
Uh-huh.
No, but you need 5 or 10 years of getting ready.
Yeah.
No. Usually what I do is I teach the stuff, I
Mhm.
ready it. So when you're writing, you're only writing.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
and then oftentimes in a summer, in 3 months or something,
Mhm.
I can write the book.
Okay.
But it takes some years between the books.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to write a book on John of the Cross, but I've been teaching him for 40 years.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. One of the courses I wanted to do
Yeah.
when I was in Bozaga as a formatter, there was John of the Cross was coming in the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully there'll be another opportunity for me to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for your contribution and also for sharing about your next project, your next books that are coming out. And just on the lighter note, you a very busy person. What do you do to relax? Just to to get away from the emails, the books, and stuff. I know you can't stop reading and you can't stop writing.
Yeah. No, you know that. I'm glad you asked that question because
Mhm.
that's a problem. You know, in our business, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to become a workaholic
Yeah,
because
yeah.
your work is always there.
Mhm.
Your work is always there,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's and if you don't do it, nobody else does it.
Yeah.
And so the danger is you end up working on Christmas Day. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, we just had Easter. I thought I'm not doing anything on Easter.
Yeah.
But in terms of relaxing,
Mm-hmm.
Certain things like, you know, for instance, I like walking, hiking.
Uh-huh.
So if I can get out good walks, or in
Mhm.
summer my vacation, I'll go with
Mhm.
my brothers. We'll hike in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And then like on a day-to-day thing, like I'm a sports fan, so I
Yeah.
can relax
Which
watching.
sports do you like?
I like them all. I can relax watching a Spurs
Ye-
game. I can
yeah.
relax watching an NFL football game.
Yeah.
I can relax watching a good baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
So sports is kind of my daily, you know,
Yeah.
distraction.
Mhm,
But hiking is and walking outside.
Mm-hmm.
I do other exercise. I try to go to the gym 3 times a week,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not recreation. That's maintenance. That's just, you don't have to enjoy that. You just have to do it
Yeah,
for
yeah,
your body,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But hiking, being with people, something I probably shouldn't say here is a good cigar and a scotch on a Friday evening. That goes real well, you know.
I agree with you
In
on
fact,
that
it's
one.
a
I agree
great
with you.
relaxation,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then from going back to the material that you've this will be the last question. I mean, the materials that you've written. Would there be a piece that you I know for a person who has produced and written all the books, it's difficult to say this is my favorite one. Is there a book that you would say, you know, if you haven't read that book, you don't know me, you haven't read.
You know, that is kind of a difficult question. Sometimes
Yeah.
if you ask a father, well, who's your favorite kid?
Yeah, I know,
No,
right?
no, but here, my far and away most popular book
Mm-hmm.
is the book The Holy Longing.
Yeah.
And it's probably the one that's the most comprehensive, the one that
Mhm.
most people have read.
Mm-hmm.
That book has actually sold 800,000 copies.
And that's a book I read
You
when
know,
I was still in Africa.
And so that was probably, someone said, read one book. I'd say read that book, you know. But then there's different books like for instance, I wrote a book on the Passion and the Cross. So during Holy Week,
Yeah.
or I just wrote a book on chastity, not just for religious, but for the world, you know,
Yeah.
which I think is a big issue, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Or one of a very popular book I wrote that's very helpful to people. I wrote a book on suicide,
Uh-huh.
on how families should cope when somebody, or
Just
a loved
commits
one dies by
yeah.
suicide.
Because it doesn't just affect the
Yeah.
person who's gone, it
Yeah.
becomes
So
even
the
more.
other book are more niche books, like for instance, the suicide book. I don't think a week goes by where I don't hear from some family or somebody who lost somebody to suicide, and they said there's nothing out there to help you.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a big problem. It's a big problem, and it's a sickness as many other issues that the world is going through. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for sharing these stories and your vocation journey. Is there any word that you can give to our Oblate brothers, the guys that are listen to us, follow us on our social medias that are, discerning, trying to join us? Is there a word of encouragement that you send out there as a spiritual guru? I can call you that.
Okay. But there's the double question.
Yes.
One of them, what would I say to oblates, or what would I say to somebody who wants to join the oblates, or looking at to join the oblates? First, to those who are oblates, I think that today, to make sure we don't get discouraged, you watch the news at night, and it's easy just to, and the way our culture is going, it's easy to get discouraged and confuse hope with optimism.
Yeah.
Hope is beyond that, or for instance, I'm an oblate in United States and Canada or Western Europe, where oblates, we don't have a lot of young oblates.
Yeah.
We're aging to say, like, no. I always tell people the oblates are as young as you are.
Yeah.
Okay. But for people looking at something, I would say, have a good look at the oblates. I'll tell you why. One of the central message of Jesus, he said, I've come to bring good news to the poor.
Yeah.
Notice he didn't say to the rich, and the oblates, our charism is to go to the poor.
Yeah.
And for instance, when I was on general council, I had the great privilege of going around the world.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, you go to a lot of countries, in the poorest places, where the police are scared to go, you find the oblates.
Oblates are there.
For instance, if you go to England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and you go to these inner cities, Liverpool or Wales, or Scotland, where the inner cities and the police won't go there, you'll see the oblates.
Oblates are there.
We're with the poor, and it's just, it's a place where you can live out the gospel, and also that we're, and you know that you're an oblate brother.
Yes.
We're simple, and not that we aren't intellectual or something, but we're a very human kind of a. For instance, I have a great admiration for the Jesuits.
Yeah.
But they produce a lot of intellectuals. The oblates produce a lot of missionaries.
Yeah.
And
That's a difference right there.
And no, I'm proud of being an oblate. Like I said, I picked it because it's what I knew.
Yeah.
But now that I know, I still pick them because we're with the poor. And even here in the United States, you go down to the border towns, you go into northern Mexico and so on.
The oblates are there.
Where nobody wants to be, that's where the oblates are.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, Ron. Thank you for your words of wisdom, and thank you for...
We could talk all evening here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have come to the end of our podcast. Today we're chatting with Father Ron Rolheiser. Hopefully you enjoyed our listening to this podcast. You enjoyed our journey. Please remember to follow us on our social medias, on our Facebook page, on our Instagram, and all the social medias, Henry Tempier. So thank you. Until next time, adios. God bless. Bye.